So are there any moments in that journey, you know, people that you've met, you know, like the Dr. Bens and others that you've dealt with that have, you know, that you could share with us, stories, enlightenments of, you know, the likes of Dr. Ben, who's not here anymore, because you were rolling with the greats, the great old ones, the legends, the truth.
Yeah. Lester Lewis. Lester Lewis used. Are you? I think you're frozen. Are you frozen?
I'm not.
I think it. Okay, you're moving now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lester Lewis was one of the that used to be on Kingsland Road in Dalston, and they used to have a lot of meetings. I think they were one of the first ones to bring Dr. Ben over, actually. And I went. I think it was at the town hall, Hackney Town Hall. Dr. Ben was, and Dr. Ben. A lot of the lecturers were really nice. They come. They would do a really nice lecture, answer your questions and all that. Not Dr. Ben. He would get into some home with you. He would say it straight. He would say what he had to say straight, and no apologies. And so the first time that I saw him, even I was like, oh my gosh, like that. But this is it. He was real. He was funny. He was informative, but he was straight to the point. And afterwards, I went to speak to Lester, and I was like, I am, you know, the usual thankful, grateful, everything. And then the association, and I started going there, and I went there for quite a while. And then Lester actually took 3 of us under his wings, and gave us responsibilities to actually do lectures, facilitate them, chair them, and everything. And we're talking like big names, big people, big names. And then one day Lester just threw me into it and just said, you are going to chair this, and you're going to be involved. You're going to phone him. Chinwezu was one of them. He brought Chinwezu, who wrote the book, The West and the Rest of Us. And also some other global Pan-Africanists he brought over, and he would just tell you, this is what you're going to do. Contact them, contact this person, and get it going. And so Lester was very instrumental in our life, and he trusted us wholeheartedly, and he was passionate about what he did as well. So they used to duplicate the tapes. They would tape the lectures, audio tape and videotape, and he had a little selection, but he wasn't doing nothing with the selection. And I used to bug him about it. You need to put those out. And he was like, yeah. And eventually I just got fed up in it. And I just said to him, I will take control of this. Let me do it. And he let me do it. And from there, it went off. And then when I got the shop, he allowed me to have copies of all the tapes that he had, which wasn't, it was quite a bit of them actually. But then after that, then I started seeking cassette tapes. That was another journey. That one was a bit more difficult because the cassette tapes, the African history cassette tapes, are very in-house. So you couldn't go nowhere else and find them, and you had to order them from America. That was about the only place that you were able to get them. And then being in the black market in Willesden, people used to come and bring what they had, and we would swap. Yeah, there was hardly any money purchases at the time. People would come, I would have stuff that they needed, and vice versa. and we will just swap like for like. You had
Gotcha.
10 tapes, I would give you 10. And that's how I built up my library, and that's how other people built up their libraries as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so just going back, Lester Lewis was very instrumental. I joined the PACM, the Pan African Congress Movement. They used to be down in Tottenham. They'd been going for a very long time. Again, they brought over a lot of people from various parts of the world. Had a lot of they had a lot of different meetings.
Mm.
They used to have meetings in Head Start upstairs. They did, and I used to go to them to all the meetings. I think about it. I spent a lot of my time in meetings and lectures, didn't I? Wow. But one sister that love her to the max, and I keep telling her because she's still alive. I keep telling her the impact that she's had on my life, particularly with doing a lot of the women's work, and that was Sister Nzinga Asata. She used to be at the meetings in Head Start, and what I loved about her was that those meetings were predominantly run by men, and sometimes, or a lot of the time, these men are just being men, aren't they? So, but she would challenge. She was like, I don't agree. She would be like, yeah, you've missed out information in this lecture about women. Why haven't you included the woman? Why have you only spent like 2 minutes talking about the woman and her role and her place in there? And she would all the time, everywhere my girl went, she would bring up those issues. But
Yeah.
also, when she didn't agree with something, she would tell you. And I was like, just blew my mind, because again, there was a few people that did it, but she was consistent in it.
Mm.
And she wasn't chastising anyone. She was just like, this is how it is. If we are to progress, you all have got to do ABC. You have to keep including the African woman. You all like to talk about the African woman is the queen of civilization, this, that, the other. But we just had a lecture and you had even spoken about her, and she would, she would say stuff like that. And,
Mhm.
even to this day, I always remind her that impact that she had on me when it come to women's issues.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and there's a lot of people, in the like as I said, I was part of the Pan African, the PACM, and again, you learn what you learn. But then it was time that I had to move on, because the areas that I was interested in, they didn't have time or were unable to focus on that, and so I left there. But what I must say is, we must never not give props to organizations that you've been in, because they would have helped you. It's part of your journey,
Yeah.
and they would have helped you to move along. And then after that, I never joined another organization. I didn't make an organization, but I just, we just formed our groups, didn't we? The metaphysics stuff that we used to do in the shop, and other things that we used to do. So yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
those are the two main focuses that I can think of. There's tons of them, but I can't think at the moment.
Nice. And sis, like that's just open up more questions that I want to ask in general, but I'm not going to do that now because there's a few things. One, I want to save some because I want to keep this going, for other episodes and stuff. If you're up for that, like get a couple more in.
I am indeed. I am indeed.
And because there's just still a lot from back in the days, like just what used to take place in the back there and the impact that it had. And when you look at the galactic flyers and you look at the Israels and you look at the people that have come through the hub, through the black hole and came out the other end, and all off still spreading the knowledge and information, like I just think it's very interesting though. It's like you had a record label kind of thing, and you had all these artists. These were the artists that were signed to your label, you know. Label. It's like, all of your artists, like, they're all doing well and they're all doing great things. And it's like, man, I would like to think that I'm one of the artists, you know, and many others that just came through and just sharing in that space. But you
Can
mentioned,
I give yeah, I need to big up all the people that pass through. And you know, there's so many that it has to take something to click my memory, or for somebody to say something to say that this person passed through and did this. You remember there was a brother called Ken. He did
yeah,
the,
man.
again,
Marcus
we
Garvey.
had, yeah.
Well done.
And remember, with the Marcus Garvey one, there was a lot of discontent,
Yeah, man.
because he was putting forward that Marcus Garvey was a Freemason,
Yeah,
and the Pan-Africanists were not having, they went mental. And
yeah,
people used to say to me, but my sister, how could you do that? You from the Pan-Africanist community, and you know, you're saying that Garvey was a Mason. And I would be like, just come through and just listen to the brother,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you can have a dialogue with him and all that. What? Who came? Only maybe 2 or 3 of them from
Mm,
the community came at the time. And Ken was also selling. He was also selling some stuff, wasn't he? Things
yeah.
that you need now to
Was it like
not get
organ
raped.
technology and all that?
Yeah, yeah. He was pop, and he got really frustrated because we had so much people passing through, but people were not taking. He thought people was not taking the technology
Yeah,
seriously enough. He
that's it.
used to say that people just used to talk, but people were like, you know what, your products are expensive and we can't afford it. And but now the products that he's got is all here. It's all here right now. Everybody
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
doing it for him. And then you had Desmond.
yeah,
Remember
man.
Desmond?
Yeah, yeah,
Desmond was
yeah,
from Malachi,
yeah, yeah.
Malachi,
What was he
York.
covering here? Was he doing the Kabbalah and stuff like that? What was it? No.
Yeah, he was doing the Kabbalah. In fact, he had gone much further than Malachi's. How can I forget the name of the Nubians? Yeah,
Yeah,
he had gone much on a deeper level. His one was really very esoteric.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It wasn't so much religious. It was esoteric.
Mm,
We had Clyde. We had Israel. Israel knew his stuff, and I always used to say to Israel, "You need to come and talk." And you know what Israel's like? Yeah, 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 yeah. And then one day I just had to pin him down. I think when he came to one of the lectures, like, you are going to talk and tell us about astrology.
you're
We've got
gonna
a
go on.
we've got our grassroots, our own people who are astrologists. And then
Mm,
he came and he cleared it, absolutely cleared it, and he hasn't stopped since.
yeah, what's interesting, and you're gonna love the interview that I done with, or the conversation that I had with Israel, because we go into that, and he talks about how that was also a monumental time for him, like he was going through his transition, and you know, and mate, let's call it, you know, the lack of belief in me. What, me step up and talk and share? You know, you talk about me,
Yeah.
I'm the one to do that, and he was in that phase of his, you know, and he says the same thing, like you put the firecracker up his ass, basically, you know, got him and got him going. So yeah, that's
And
a
I used to harass you to talk as well, didn't I? I always used to say, "Come on, let's talk. You know your stuff. You got to talk." And you would be like, "Nah, it's all right, sis.
yeah. I
Not
want to
yeah,
be
no."
behind the scenes, the cameraman, the organizer. You know, I want to do it how you was doing it. I want to be you, man. I want to organize events and be behind the scenes and all the rest of it. But yeah, slowly but surely.
And then you know what? Interestingly enough, I was just like you, because with everything that I do, I'm behind the scenes. We'll say, "Let's do this gathering."
Mm,
We would let people who are involved, or people who come, we would let them help
oh, yeah, yeah,
to um to make it happen also. And I used to be behind the scene, and people always used to be saying, "Why don't you do this talk and all that?" And I'll be like, no, it's all right. Yeah, I'm busy. I'm doing my research. And just
mm,
like I harassed you, they used to harass me. And then eventually you do it, and yeah, you just learn as you go along, and you get that
yeah.
self-confidence. And then when it's time, spirit is just like, you know what, you need to do it, and then it just happens. So
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, everything in its season, you know,
Yes.
everything for a
Yes,
reason in its
indeed.
season and all that good stuff.